Good afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone can hear and see fine. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Adrian Dievenage. I am the marketing manager at Cayman Enterprise City. We would like to thank you for joining us today to this webinar on navigating relocation and residency in the Cayman Islands. Introducing our speakers today is our first speaker is Nick Joseph. He is the founder of Reside Cayman. And then we will also be hearing from Charlie Kirkconnell, who is the CEO at Cayman Enterprise City. Just some housekeeping is that we did ask for questions when we had the registrations going up. So we have compiled some of those. We are going to try and get to them at the end. If there is any other questions that pop up, please do feel free to add them into the comments, into the chats on this call. We'll try and get to them at the end. If we don't have time to get to them at the end, we will reach out afterwards and make sure that all questions are answered. What we will be covering today is an introduction to Cayman Enterprise City. We will then be moving on to introduction on Reside Cayman. Then we will be going into why choosing the Cayman Islands as a good business and living environment, and also steps for relocation company formation, and also looking at timelines for residency and all of that. Then moving on to the Q&As, time being a factor, and then also going over to closing remarks. Without further ado, Charlie, I can kick it over to you to give us a bit of background of Cayman Enterprise City and what it is we do over here.
Okay, thanks, Adrian. And I'm sure I didn't say that right. Didn't say it the way you said it, but in any event, thank you. As Adrian said, I'm Charlie Kirkconnell. I'm the CEO here at Cayman Enterprise City. And so what is Cayman Enterprise City? We are a special economic zone located, of course, in the Cayman Islands. We were launched as a project in February of 2012 for the purpose of attracting knowledge and technology focused businesses to set up a genuine physical presence in the Cayman Islands. And what that means is to open an office and employ people locally. A little bit of history on our project is, again, launched in February of 2012. Some important milestones along the way have been that in November of 2018, we broke ground on our 76-acre mixed-use development. And in March of this year, we moved into our first building on our main campus development. We have in the range of, I'd say, somewhere between 80 and 90,000 square feet of tenants between our main campus and our temporary locations. That is, somewhere in the range at the moment of somewhere around 375 companies operating from within the SEZ. Some things that we like to brag about. We've received an award, multiple awards over the last 7 years from the Financial Times for the different things that we do, and that includes that in 2022 and 2023 we were recognized as the best free zone in the Americas for SMEs. Last year we were highly commended. They changed the way that they assess the different free zones around the world into different categories. We are now in what they call the knowledge zones, and we were highly commended in that category for this year, for 2024. And what we feel that does is that we feel that it lets people know that the quality of the substance of what it is that we do, and getting that third party external recognition means a lot to us. And I think it says the right things about the trajectory and the path that we're on. As far as the types of businesses that are entitled to set up in the special economic zone, we have a number of parks We break them into three categories, but one category essentially has three parts to it. Cayman Tech City, which is made up of our Cayman Media Park, which is for businesses involved in the creation of original content for electronic publication and digital marketing and similar activities. The Cayman Internet Park, which is all things ICT. Very importantly to us, that includes blockchain development. And the Cayman Science and Technology Park, which is mostly about research and development on natural sciences, and that includes medical activities related to medical devices, pharmaceuticals, and environmental technology. The Cayman Commodities and Derivatives Center is that one is pretty straightforward, pretty self-explanatory. Businesses involved in the physical trade of commodities and or the physical and or electronic trade of commodities and or the electronic trade of derivatives may be licensed into this park. Very importantly, the virtual assets fall within the definition of either commodities or derivatives, depending on the particular circumstances of the asset. So companies that are involved in the proprietary trade of virtual assets and or the fund management, the investment management of a virtual asset focused fund are eligible to be licensed into that park. And then finally, for scope purposes, the Cayman Maritime and Aviation City. So any businesses that are involved in the services, maritime and or aviation services may be licensed into that park. So with that's CC. I believe that I hand it over to Nick now.
So thank you very much, everybody, for coming together, and thank you for that kind introduction, Charlie, to Cayman Enterprise City, all the wonderful things you're doing, and for giving me the excuse to call Adrian, because I'm afraid I too cannot pronounce it properly, and I apologize for that. I am what I'm describing as a recovering lawyer. I spent some 27 years in legal practice in the Cayman Islands, and throughout that period started off helping in the trust industry and helping really as an adjunct to Cayman's financial services industry to help people with wealth and power in sometimes in equal measure to utilize the Cayman Islands as an ideal venue for their business activities. It quickly, however, became apparent that we are an absolutely wonderful place for people to live, to raise their families, and not only through which to conduct international business, but from which to conduct international business. And so I was privileged to start being asked questions that, rather than being trust law specific, were far more involved in relation to how to become a resident of the Cayman Islands. That morphed into a full-time practice. I became very involved in immigration matters for the Cayman Islands, have ended up being the lecturer on the subject in the local law school and assisting large numbers of people to move here and to maintain their residence here. About a year ago, I decided that it was time for me to branch out away from law and to provide more of a consultancy type practice and to assist people and their families in moving here without quite the confines that are imposed on being a lawyer, including timesheets and things of that nature. I have become somewhat of a third party that Charlie was referring to. My role in what I do is to help people to secure the optimal solution for them and their businesses and their families indeed. And it happens to be the case that more often than not, of the 9 options that are available to people to move here, Cayman Enterprise City clearly and emphatically demonstrates the right solution for them with at the least expense and in the shortest possible time. And so against that background, it is my pleasure and privilege to introduce clients to Cayman Enterprise City as part of any move which they and their families wish to make to the Cayman Islands. Of course, the companies, the enterprise anticipated to be operated from Cayman does need to fit within one of the parks. And there are multiple alternative solutions for those businesses that may not fit within one of the parks that Cayman Enterprise City provides. One of the alternatives is to provide for work permits for individuals, and it is possible to have a work permit in a business that is outside of Cayman Enterprise City, and for a family member to be within Cayman Enterprise City, or vice versa. We operate a term limit system in the Cayman Islands because we are so attractive to so many, and we want to be able to control our immigration. We do say that people cannot stay here for more than 9 years in almost all instances, unless they have applied for and acquired permanent residence before the expiry of a 9-year term limit. That, however, is a relatively straightforward process. It sounds daunting at the outset, but permanent residence is awarded pursuant to a point system. It's actually a system that is modeled on the systems of Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. Persons who are seeking to move here with their families can readily assess how many points they are likely to receive in the future. Points are awarded for such things as education, income, involvement in the community, investments in real estate, training and mentoring of local persons. All of these things, together with your age, your savings, your health, are all taken into account in the award of points, and anybody with 110 points on our current system is assured a grant of permanent residence. We are also increasingly finding ourselves in a position where individuals are seeking to avail themselves of the opportunity to secure permanent residence, not based on the point system, but based on investment. And where a substantial investment has been made, for example, in a home in the Cayman Islands, the government will entertain an application for permanent residence based on that investment, which can remove any uncertainty that anybody is feeling very early in the game. Indeed, people can secure permanent residence even before they have moved here. And there is absolutely every desire to enable people who have such permanent residence to also avail themselves of the opportunity to perform economically within the economy, including the international economy. And so growing numbers of our clients actually are securing permanent residence for themselves and their families, whilst also availing themselves of permissions to operate from within Cayman Enterprise City Special Economic Zone. Permanent residence is an important milestone in the Cayman Islands immigration calendar, because with permanent residence you can claim to be settled in the Cayman Islands for the purposes of the British Nationality Act. That, once you've been residing in the Cayman Islands for a minimum of 5 years, provided you hold permanent residence for at least one of those 5 years, entitles you to apply for naturalization as a British Overseas Territories citizen. And that will in turn entitle you to hold a Cayman Islands passport. Once you have a Cayman Islands passport, you can apply for registration as a British citizen and with the consent of the UK government, become a full British citizen as well. So you can get 2 passports in the process. And once you have a Cayman Islands passport, you can 5 years later apply to become a Caymanian. We help people navigate that path, which can take between 10 and 15 years to walk, depending on the options that are chosen, from arriving as a new arrival in the Cayman Islands to becoming a fully participating citizen with all the rights of any other Cayman Islander, including democratic rights to vote and fully participate in business activities. So I hope that addresses many of your initial queries, and look forward to hearing more.
Thank you very much, Nick, for that thorough introduction. We thought that we would move on. Charlie, my first question is to you. Can you give us a better idea of why exactly it is at the moment that so many different businesses are choosing Cayman as a business operations area, but also as a lifestyle environment, why that is?
Yeah, sure. So most things when people think about Cayman, they think about us as a tax neutral jurisdiction, and that indeed we are. But for many people, that's a feature, and not the certainly not the sole reason why you might physically relocate your business or start up a new business here in the Cayman Islands. So kind of picking up on that first point, we are a tax neutral jurisdiction, but there are a number of other features to Cayman that make it attractive. We are on the East Coast time zone, the easy to get to from a number of direct connection locations: New York, Toronto, London, for example, and of course the Miami for any that becomes for once you get to Miami, directly to Cayman is very easy. So for most people, if it's not one flight, it's two. We are recognized as one of the least complex jurisdictions for globally for doing business. No, there are no exit taxes, no exchange controls for when you're leaving the jurisdiction. And then as far as what CEC does to enhance all of that, we in a study that we did recently, we found that we save companies in the range of 40% in setup and operational costs, which of course is significant. As far as getting set up, companies can get set up within 4 to 6 weeks. So there is a fast track business setup process. I think for many people, the idea that you might make a decision to relocate to a new jurisdiction and then 6 months later you're still calling up your attorney to find out when this is all going to be done is a very frustrating experience. And without the SEC, I can say that in my previous career, I'm a recovering attorney as well. But in my previous career, I had a client that finally, 6 months into the process of trying to open an office here in Cayman, they gave up and they just went away. Unfortunately, it was too difficult. So the SEZ cuts through a lot of the difficulty in getting set up, and in doing so as well, some of a fairly substantial amount of the cost of getting set up, because anything all due respect to all the lawyers out there that are still practicing, anything that you're paying an attorney to do for 6 months plus is going to cost you a pretty significant amount of money. So there are some significant savings in the just inherent in the fast track procedure as well. All of that is, obviously very important, but increasingly, one of the things that we're finding to be a determinative factor is our community. So CEC has spent a lot of time, a lot of effort into creating a very vibrant, active community, and we host over 100 events per year. Some of them are pretty simple, coffee morning where we invite everybody to meet in the cafe, to have a cup of coffee and network. And some of them are more formal, for example, Fin Talks or Tech Talks, where those are panel discussions with a chosen topic of interest, speakers that are experts in their field, and an open invitation to the community to come along and participate. And we also offer people the opportunity to get involved in initiatives as well. So for many of our clients, they and we find this especially in the knowledge and technology space, they're very interested in being active within that community. And so we offer people the opportunity to take on an intern, to serve as a mentor, We have an entrepreneurism support ecosystem. So a lot of our clients will be, they'll mentor projects or be subject matter experts for, startup business and those kinds of things. So we find that we're finding that that's become a very, very important item for people who are thinking about moving to a new jurisdiction. They don't want to, sure, the great island lifestyle, being in, the sun, the sand, all of that sort of thing. But, they still want a serious career, and they still want an opportunity to participate in a vibrant, relevant community. And we offer them the opportunity to do that.
Thank you very much for that, Charlie. And Nick, could you possibly touch on a few key considerations of individuals and companies that are making their way over as you deal with this daily?
Sure, absolutely. I was given a quote by a client one day who explained to me that the world was facing enormous challenges, and we are seeing people moving here, not just from the places that people might anticipate, but also from former safe havens or perhaps their existing safe havens. But people are moving here now, not just from the main onshore countries that they originated from, but also from places like Switzerland, from Monaco, from the Channel Islands, from the Isle of Man, from Singapore. They are coming here from the places they already went to. And we have become a somewhat unique bubble in the world. We are safe to the point where our police are unarmed. We speak English, we have the rule of law, we have a very sophisticated economy in terms of a long-established financial services industry. We have lots of bankers, we have lawyers, we have accountants, we have world-class communications. And all of these things together with a beautiful people and a beautiful culture, with a beautiful environment, right in the center of the Americas. If you were to draw a line from Anchorage to Sao Paulo, Miami to Panama, New York to Caracas, those lines all intersect above our heads here. So we are in the time zone which can deal with all of the Americas very, very effectively, tax neutral, and provide a wonderful quality of life to raise a family. And that really is the most compelling feature of this, is the sanctuary that people find by basing their lives here. We have the privilege of having more than 135 nationalities peaceably coexisting here together. We all get to know each other. We enjoy that variety, and many of us know what it is like to have moved to a new country. So there is a very special Caymanian welcome we call Cayman Kind, because we either came here ourselves from somewhere else or were sent as a stranger to go to somebody else's country for our education, to launch our careers, to gain experience. And so the whole community knows what it's like to be a stranger in a strange land, and reaches out to welcome people. And I think fundamentally, that is our secret sauce. That is what people are craving, and what we are able to provide.
Thank you very much, Nick. That was very thorough. Charlie, I'm going to kick it back to you. Could you possibly, with special focus on CEC, explain what the process is of setup?
Sure. And to kind of echo Nick's point from earlier, I am speaking about the special economic zone when in step one there, where evaluate business fit. If you don't fit within the scope of the SEZ, there are of course still options for you. It's just that it wouldn't involve CEC, unfortunately. It would involve Nick. But the first step, or the step for getting set up in the SEZ, and again, this is a 4 to 6 week process. For closer to 4 if you're in a hurry. The normal, doing things at a normal pace takes about 6 weeks. So we start by evaluating whether your company's business activities fit within the scope of the SEZ, as I described earlier in the webinar. And then once we've determined that, hopefully positively, the next step is to move on to the company incorporation. So CDC we don't have a company's management license, so we don't deal with company incorporations, and that's where Nick would come in, for example, and that's happening, external to CDC. The parts that we deal with are the business license and the work visa applications. So the prior to that, we agree commercial terms, and keep in mind that we offer everything from the shared use of a desk in an open plan environment for one person, all the way up to a private lockable space of any size. And so once we've determined what you need as to operate your business, then we move on from there. Another important point to make is that we also offer a very flexible option, meaning it's essentially on a component basis, where if you say to us, for example, well, I think that in 2 years I'm going to have 10 people. We don't say to you on day one, okay, there's a space for 10 people. You can rent that from now. If you say that you're starting with one, and then by at the end of 6 months you expect to hire someone else, and then maybe by the maybe 3 people by the end of 12 months, and so on. We build in the flexibility into our agreement with you that allows you to add people on a component basis and only pay for the space and the individuals when you need them. We find that to be a very attractive feature for so many of our clients, because even the best laid plans don't always work out, or the timing of those plans don't necessarily work out. So the flexibility that we offer is usually very welcomed. As far as the applications go, there is a business license application that's called what's called a zone trade certificate, and we assist you with preparing your applications, the application documents, and we advise you on what due diligence documentation is required in connection with the various applications, and then the same on your work visa applications, where there's a form to fill out and some due diligence documentation that needs to be provided there as well. And again, we assist you with that, including that we have an electronic, an online portal that helps guide you through the process. You'll submit the application documents and the supporting documentation to us. We'll review it. If all is in order, we'll approve it. If it's not, we'll kick it back to you with an explanation of what needs to be amended. We continue that process until everything is in order and ready to be submitted. And so, in other words, you're not going to be left alone with a stack of PDF documents to fill out, send in, and hope that they're right. We help you along the way with that, and that's another very well appreciated feature of the SEZ. Once completed and you have your business license and your work visa, you can walk in typically, especially if you've chosen one of our standard products, because we offer our products typically in a serviced office, fully serviced office environment, and typically off the shelf, if you will, products where the open plan seating and offices. We have kind of ready to go offices that up to as many as 8 people. So typically we find that for a client that once you get to the end of that 4 to 6 week application process, you can walk into the office the next day, sit down, and get to work.
Thank you very much, Charlie. Nick, back over to you, and I'm sure this is going to be one of the reasons why we did get so many registrations as well, which is sometimes a difficult thing to navigate. Can you please take us through the process, the relocation process, but more to say the process of obtaining residency in the Cayman Islands.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Adrian. Obviously, Cayman Enterprise City, as I've already said, provides an optimal solution for everyone. As Charlie has explained, the starting point within Cayman Enterprise City is to have an employer which must get a zone trade certificate. If you cannot be accommodated within Cayman Enterprise City, the equivalent permission is a trade and business license, or perhaps some other form of licensing under the Cayman Islands Monetary Authority or under the Banks and Trust Companies Act, or if you're a trust company or a bank, that is the way to move forward. But generally speaking, people will have a trade and business license if they can't have a zone trade certificate. That license can then be used to launch what is known as a work permit application, again outside of Cayman Enterprise City. And that process can take a few months to achieve. There is usually a requirement that the employer has to advertise to ensure that there's no local person available to fulfill that role. And if that is achieved, work permits will generally be granted in 3 or 5 year intervals, but again capped at 9 years. The grant of that work permit will allow, subject to payment of additional fees outside of Cayman Enterprise City, the individual and their family members to take up residence in the Cayman Islands. As a part of us being able to maintain our tax-free structure here, we do require all persons coming here to demonstrate that they will make arrangements for the education of their children in the private school system, and also that they will have private health insurance. These are things that are arranged separately, although if you are within Cayman Enterprise City, there is a concierge service that arranges all of this for you and making it very easy. There is then the prospect of renewing the applications every 3 years or so, with an annual fee being assessed by the Cayman Islands government annually, that can range, depending on what you're doing, from a relatively nominal amount to as high as 32,400 Cayman Islands dollars a year. And so it can be very expensive to be operating on a work permit outside of Cayman Enterprise City. And there is the uncertainty that corresponds with that, given the application process and some of the delays that come along with that. Once you are, however, given permission to reside in the Cayman Islands, whether that be pursuant to a zone certificate or a trade and business license with a work permit, you are given a 9-year time frame within which to perform your role for the business that is employing you. And when you have been in the Cayman Islands for 8 years, as this graphic attempts to show, a window that allows you to apply for permanent residence under the point system opens up. So anybody that has been resident in the Cayman Islands for a minimum of 8 years can apply during that 8th year for permanent residence under the point system. If that permanent residence is achieved, then the 9-year term limit dissolves and you can continue living in the Cayman Islands. 1 year after you achieve your permanent residence, you can apply for naturalization as a British Overseas Territory citizen. And 5 years after that is granted, you can apply to become Caymanian. The shortcut is to, at some point, invest a minimum of 2 million Cayman Islands dollars in developed real estate, and to pay the government $100,000 on grant, in which case they will give you permanent residence right away. The right to work can be added to that permanent residence, and for persons engaged in Cayman Enterprise City, that right is 1,230 Cayman Islands dollars a year. The Cayman Islands dollar is worth about 20% more than a US dollar, so that grant fee is roughly the equivalent of 120,000 US dollars. The annual work permit fee is roughly the equivalent of 1,500 or 1,600 US dollars. But that is all that is required for that. Whether you have permanent residence under the point system or based on an investment, you can 1 year later, provided you've lived in the islands for at least 5 years, apply for naturalization and seek citizenship and the path to becoming Caymanian.
Thank you very much, Nick. Lastly, I would just like to take a look at both from Cayman Enterprise City and Reside Cayman. If you could give us sort of closing remarks on what exactly it is from CEC side and then from Reside Cayman side, of how the services can benefit the move over to the Cayman Islands. Charlie, if you'd like to begin.
Yeah, sure. I mean, from our perspective, we exist to to help people move to Cayman in the most cost-effective and efficient way. And we have a team of people. Our team is now up to I think it's 20 people we have now that are involved in the various stages of helping you relocate to Cayman, and then after you're here to support you as well, because the relationship doesn't end on the licensing process being completed. So I think the way we'd like you to think of us is that we're your global mobility experts that also provide you with ongoing support and services and community and all the kind of things that you would expect to see in a fully developed kind of serviced office community focused on innovation and just making you more comfortable and happy in your new location.
Thank you very much, Charlie. Nick, is there anything you would like to add?
No, other than to reiterate that we at Reside Cayman will fulfill those roles that Charlie and your team so ably fulfill for people in Cayman Enterprise City. We fulfill the same role, but for people that don't have the privilege of joining Cayman Enterprise City. So we will make the introductions and facilitate the various arrangements that are required in terms of banking and insurances and school places and things of that nature. But no, I think Charlie covered that. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I see we do have about 2 or 3 minutes still left for questions. As a lot of the questions that came in with registration was already covered in the chat, we had now, I'm going to go to the comments and just maybe pick 2 questions that we can ask from there. The first question is, can a local work permit holder set up a SEZ company?
Emphatically, yes. That can be done. It is done. There is, of course, a higher fee that is paid by work permit holders, and depending on how the work permit holder is going to maintain their permissions in the Cayman Islands, if they are going to try to have permission to work for 2 different companies at the same time, one in the zone, one outside the zone, the tendency of the authorities will be to charge the higher fee. But no, this is absolutely possible and has been done many times before.
And then another question which acts sort of as a follow-up is, once we have established a company within CEC as an SEZC, what does the route to obtaining a business outside of CEC look like?
Any resident of the Cayman Islands can establish a business in the Cayman Islands. We have split the economy in 2 between what we refer to as the exempt economy and the ordinary resident economy. If you are only competing in the international marketplace, you fall within the exempt economy, and you will generally be allowed to establish any lawful business, owning 100% of the shares, being the sole director, etc., without any requirement for any local participation. And so it is often much easier to simply set up an international business outside of the special economic zone if there is a reason for you wanting to pursue something that cannot be accommodated within the zone. If you want to establish a business in the Cayman Islands that competes locally, whether that's a gas station or a dive shop or a restaurant or something of that nature, you would be expected to have 60% Caymanian participation in that business. That doesn't mean you have to give them 60% of the profits. It means that they have to buy 60% of the shares. And so, and the profits would be split accordingly. But you would find people with whom to do business in the Cayman Islands without much difficulty, particularly if you've been living here for a little while.
One thing to note there is that there has to be where the SEZ is concerned. I think for any exempted company that or anybody working within an exempted company that might be interested in doing business in the local economy, there has to be a clear separation between the two. So to the extent that you might have a zone employment certificate that you're sharing with a company that's offering goods and services locally, that maintains that segregation. But one of the things that you can't do is if you've set up an office in the SEZ and you're getting the benefit of the the duty waiver on things like technology equipment and office furniture and that sort of thing, your local company may not benefit from that. So you would have to operate from two separate locations and ensure that there is a segregation of activity such that the company operating the local economy is not getting the benefit of the SEZ concessions.
Thank you very much, Charlie. And then we have time for one last brief question. Nick, I think this is going to be towards you. What is the key difference between having a Cayman passport and becoming a Caymanian?
Okay, well, I think we have to recognize that we are still a British Overseas Territory. We do not have our own unique citizenship. We have our own nationality, and our nationality is being a Caymanian. Our citizenship operates independent of our nationality, and it is actually the United Kingdom, following the British Nationality Act, that decides fundamentally who can become a citizen by virtue of a connection with the Cayman Islands, and only citizens who are British Overseas Territory citizens can hold a Cayman Islands passport. The Cayman Islands passport is really a travel document, but it is also a ticket that entitles somebody to apply later to become Caymanian. Until you are Caymanian, you are restricted within the economy as to what you can do, and requiring the permissions, approvals to hold more than 40% of the shares of a local business, to vote, all of that sort of thing. So the passport is literally just a travel document for an interim period on your way to become a Caymanian.
Thank you very much. And with that, we are going to end today as well. Nick, I want to thank you very much for joining us today and for all your insights. Charlie as well, thank you very much. I do think this was a very positive and very informative session. To everyone that joined us, thank you very much. Thank you for the questions that came in beforehand and during the webinar. To any questions that have not been answered, we will definitely reach out and make sure we get to all of you. And yeah, thank you very much, and we hope to see you guys next time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.